It's signing day, so all across the country, there's a podium with a coach behind it, and he's talking about the virtues of his class and how pleased he is with all the guys that he signed, and certainly I'm no different in that regard. But the way I want to start this is to not talk about their talents and their achievements on the field. I want to talk about the mentality that I think makes these 18 guys very special. We made some changes to the way that we recruit at the University of Miami. We made changes, staffing-wise, and I think, Andy Vaughn, David Cooney, DeMarcus Van Dyke, Edwin Pata, Brooke Wilson, they all did an outstanding job in addition to our on-the-field coaching staff of securing this class. But the bigger change I think we made is we made a difference in terms of what it means to be a Miami Hurricane, what it means to be committed to be a Miami Hurricane. The 18 men that signed scholarships with us today, from the time that they committed, they never took another visit. They never wavered. And when we went into their homes over the course of the month of December, the reception we got back from them was, Coach, not only are we with Miami, not only are we with the Canes, we're coming to solve the problem. We're coming to be the fix. We're coming to get this thing right. And a class with a mentality like that, from top to bottom, from number 1 to number 18 is very rare. I think we have a rare group of players. We had a big group of them came on an official visit this past weekend, and their ability to continue to gel and bond together when they're on our campus, which started a long time ago on a group chat that they've all had, which when you consider the ups and downs of our season and all the things that they had to go through and all the negativity that I'm sure that they went through and various recruiting tactics, for them to not blink and to not flinch and to say that I'm a Miami Hurricane and understand the pride and passion that comes behind that, I think makes us as a coaching staff as proud to call these guys Miami Hurricanes as certainly their attributes on the field. As we talk about position by position, obviously you always start with a quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke. Again, for all the arm talent and all the great physical ability and attributes he has on the field, it is who he is off the field that I think has us as more excited. He ticks all the boxes in terms of being a leader, in terms of being a gym rat, a guy that's going to be the first guy in the building, the last guy to leave, which is what we felt like in the culture of our QB room has been needing. Donald Chaney and Jalen Nitin, to be able to sign one running back of their caliber, I think would be a cherry on top of any class. To get both of those guys in the same year, that's rare. That does not happen very often. And for a guy like Donald Chaney to be committed to Miami for as long as he was committed and to stay committed for as long as he was is a testament to him, his family. And then again, to Jalen, and for both those guys, it's always been the story at the University of Miami. When these guys want to compete on the field, to push each other, to be great, that's when Miami's been great. There's been certainly stories of Miami in the past with having great backs in the running back room at the same time. You can all remember what those are. And have both those guys want to come in and push each other towards greatness, I think, again, speaks a lot to the character. These are guys that are there. You can Google their highlight films and see what they can do on the field. There's something special about these guys off the field that really stands out to me. We were able to sign 3 wide receivers that we think all have outstanding futures for us. A big blocking tight end that can also be a factor in the passing game, gives a little bit something we don't have at the tight end spot. We signed 2 tackle bodies in Washington and Rivers, which has been a struggle for us to get tackle bodies through the years, guys that we can develop in our program, and we're excited to have those guys. And then defensively, again, as it always does, it starts up front. Elisha Roberts, who to me is a epitome of what it means to be a true Cane, a guy that can start on the edge of our defense. As he grows and develops, a guy that could move inside, but an elite athlete playing defensive line, which is what Miami's always prided itself through the years. Williams, Chance and Quentin on the edge. We know how important it is for us to be in the top 5 in sacks every year and 2 elite pass rushers. Like those guys, I think we're very excited to be able to add to our class. Linebacker, everyone knew that we were missing Quarterman and Pickney after this year. It's obviously we're blessed to have Zach McLeod come back. But Corey Flagg, an instinctual player, a guy that's going to go play for a state championship in Texas this weekend coming up. Just a guy that when you go into North Shore High School, the coach can say, this is the best player on our entire football team is Corey. And that speaks a lot out of a program like that. And then Tyreek Austin Cave, who gives us something that we probably don't have on our roster right now, which is elite speed at the linebacker position. So I feel like those guys have a great chance to come in and compete. In addition to our defensive backs, there's a lot of defensive backs that we signed that we're very excited about. Some guys have got some positional flexibility. Jalen Harrell, a guy that's got man press skills, can factor in at either safety spot, can factor in the corner, can factor in the striker. No telling what he's going to develop into with his frame and his size. Marcus Clark at corner, again, a guy that's got the speed to play out there on the outside and the length to cover guys up. So very excited about those guys. And again, there's other ones in the secondary that again, I really think we've improved our football team, which is what this thing's all about. Going forward, maybe the greatest thing about this class, and probably the most unusual thing, I don't know if I've ever been around a class that has 13 guys that will be reporting for the spring semester, 13 mid-year enrollees out of the 18. So again, when we're talking about not trying to win a press conference or win signing day, we're trying to talk about winning football games in 2020 and fall of 2020, and to get 13 of these guys on our campus, to be able to develop with David Feely in our weight room, to be able to go through our spring practice and get on the grass is a huge boost in the arm to our program. We'll have a chance to add to that in the February signing day. If you think about what we did in the month of January a year ago compared to where we are now, a lot can happen in January, and there certainly will be some transfers that we'll look towards. Certain spots where we still feel like age may benefit us more than bringing in all guys just out of high school that can come in with a little bit more maturity and help lead some of our younger guys along. But again, I think from top to bottom, this is a class that we love who these guys are on the field. We love who they are off the field. And more than anything, they know what it means to be a Miami Hurricane. With that, I'll open up for questions.
Hey, Coach.
How are we doing?
I got about 15 questions.
Oh, fantastic.
Two of them, I think other people might have questions also, possibly. So first of all, obviously, like you said, almost all the commitments did stick strong. I wanted to ask you, people sort of remember the finish, and I think you had like maybe 6 guys the last couple of weekends that you were trying to get, I guess, that came in on visits officially that you didn't get. So A, is there anything you can maybe, you implement these rules, is there anything you can try to do to finish stronger? And then B, from what you said in your opening statement, in 2021 is like part of the new philosophy also to take a 2021 commit. They basically have to say, I am not taking other visits for you to take that commitment. If you could answer both those, that would be great.
Okay, so starting with the second question, we've been pretty clear on this, okay? If you're committed to us and you take other visits, you can still consider yourself committed to us, but we're going to look for somebody else. And that's really what it is. And that's why in our mind, we did not lose a commitment today. Because the ones that you're probably referring to had already been taking other visits. So in our mind, we were doesn't mean we're not recruiting them. But again, we're looking beyond those guys at that point. Okay, you have to create value. If you're selling something, you got to create value in it, and I think that's what the 18 bought into, and I think that's important. This class, the 20 class, which we've been recruiting now for the staff that's been here, some of these guys we've been on since 8th grade. Been on these guys since 9th grade. There's some of these. There were guys committed in this 2020 class that we never would have taken their commitments under our new model. And to be honest, the same thing's true in the 21 class. It'll finally catch up in 22 with the way we go about doing our thing. But we feel like this class, if anything, justified why we do what we do and gave us a firmer standing on who's in and who's not in. In terms of the finish, fairly or not unfairly, I think signing day is always judged by the ones that decide towards the end. And I think that unfortunately devalues the guys, like a Donald Chaney or Don Mammarelli who have been with us from day one. So I don't know that. I mean, if we would have held on one of those guys and had those guys announced today, I've known schools that have done that have known the guys committing and they wait and they keep it silent until today. Would we be any better? I don't know. I mean, the class is what the class is. We've got these 18. We got a chance to add to it in February. So.
As far as quarterback position, 2-part question. Number one, going into this bowl game, I know we're not going to probably get a chance to talk to you again until you guys get to Shreveport, but do you have a starting quarterback for this bowl game yet? How are you going to decide that? And then the second part, Tyler Van Dyke obviously coming in early. In your mind, can he come in and win the starting job as a true freshman?
I'll answer the second part first. In my mind, I can't think of a position on our football team going into spring practice that's not open. I don't know on what platform anyone would have to stand on and say, I know I'm safe. That's not the mentality we want. We want a legit competition this spring, whether it's the 13, whether it's our developmental group that just finished redshirting or the freshmen, not all redshirt, but maybe played some role. whoever it is. No, this will be a major competition. And then to the first part of the question, even same thing here going into the bowl game. Yeah, right now we're still in the process of going through a competition to find out, who takes the first snap at quarterback in Shreveport.
Manny, a couple of roster things since we won't see you again before Shreveport. Beyond Garvin and Thomas, have any other juniors on the team told you they definitely will be back, like DJ Dallas, Bandy? Have they given you anything with certainty on that front? And also, do we know yet for sure that Scott Patchin definitely will be back next season?
By all accounts, we're planning on Scott Patchin being back next season and working towards that. In terms of the juniors, we've not heard anything other definitively from any other guys. But I do know that the rest of the team that's with us right now will be the team that travels with us to Shreveport to play in the bowl game.
Hey, Coach, I know you were excited about the 2 offensive linemen you were able to bring in, but this is one of the most talented group of South Florida offensive linemen in a while, and you're only able to get one in-state, and he's from Jacksonville. Why do you think you had trouble getting some of these South Florida offensive linemen?
Well, there's a couple things there. I mean, you're still talking about a small sample size in terms of how many individuals that you're actually talking about. So what you always do is you always go back and say, okay, what was it in this young man's case? What was it in this young man's case? We always want to start recruiting from Dade County out. That's just who we are. That's what we've always been. That's what we've always believed in. But that being said, we've also have to find the best guys that want to be Miami Hurricanes. So the sign the 2 we have, we're very happy about. And like I said, I think there'll be some ability for us to find maybe some age in that room as well that can give us a shot in the arm for 2020.
I guess this kind of follows up. Yeah. Okay. To that question, you mentioned transfers. What positions would you look at possibly, or is that still kind of got to see what happens and shakes out here over the next few weeks, or is there some positions you guys know right away we're going to go shopping for?
I would say we have it planned out. I'll put it to you like that, and I would say that offensive line would certainly be one of them.
I mean, just with the bowl game, Jafari Harvey obviously would step up with other young guys that we haven't seen much throughout the regular season that you think will have a role in the bowl game, like a Jafari.
Jafari will. Jason Blissett, should be a guy that should see some snaps. Sam Brooks, I'm hoping we'll get in there and get some good action. There's a few I may be missing some, but those are guys that certainly stand out.
You touched on Jalen Nitin, but maybe could you expand on a little further? I mean, the Deerfield Beach connection, you got 2 guys. Talk about what impressed you with him, and does he seem like the kind of guy that could be a star?
Talking about Jalen in particular, I went to a jamboree in Palm Beach County. I think this was in Jalen's 10th grade year. And Al Shipman, who's head coach of Palm Beach Lakes, does a great job with his spring jamboree. And there's usually 12 to 14 teams that show up. So it's a buffet for college coaches because you see all these teams roll in from 1 o'clock till midnight. And I remember in Jalen Knight, I believe it was his 10th grade year. So you're watching a ton of players. And in my mind, he was the best player on the field that day, regardless of age. He just was. Because he was just electric and had a guy that had a chance at any time he had the ball, he had a chance to go all the way. So again, when you talk about offensive production, trying to increase your explosiveness on offense, having a guy that can take a short one and turn it into a long one, is something that all of a sudden can be a changer for a program. So I think Jalen provides that. Donald has the speed to go all the way. Donald's just a bigger, sturdier type guy, a guy that can run through tackles. Jalen, of course, runs tough as heck too. So the neat way that both of those backs complement each other, and the ways you can get both of them on the field at the same time, and just all the different ways you can get those guys the ball is certainly a part. And then again, I just go back to, it's been that way at Miami in the past, and I think they saw that, and I think they were excited about the ability to come in and be great together.
Manny, could you detail how Tate Martell has responded since his return to the team in practices, and how you're distributing first-team reps for quarterbacks leading up to the game?
It's been really good since he's been back. He's working through there, and we've been rolling. To be honest, the first few days when we were in 7-on-7, we were repping all of our quarterbacks. Peyton Matoka was getting reps. Carson Proctor was getting reps. Again, just to give all those guys a chance. Trying to treat the first few days of bowl practice almost like spring practice. Just to try and work on us. before we really got into the prep. We'll start to increase our prep on Louisiana Tech. We've done Louisiana Tech prep, but that'll start to increase really in earnest tomorrow, Friday, and then we'll have a pure game week when we get to Shreveport. So yeah, I mean, all the guys have been out there competing in a positive manner.
You mentioned this kind of earlier with Don Chaney, but Elijah Roberts was another kid that your staff had been on really since they kind of emerged on the scene as in eighth grade and ninth grade. Just how big is it for you guys to get them, and how do you find it and get more of those guys in the boat?
Well, I think it's just continue doing what we're doing in a lot of ways. I mean, I think back to Elijah, where remember Ephraim Bonda was at a practice at Kroll Park High School, and watched Elijah when no one knew who Elijah was, and that's our advantage. A lot of times we have a chance to form relationships with these young men and get on them before anybody else knows who they are, and of course everybody looks at who we're after, and the rest of the world kind of tries to target our targets, which is understandable. I would do the same thing if I was them. But at times you do start to create a relationship, and you get to know the people behind the player. They get to know you, and ultimately they feel very comfortable with that. So I think forming those relationships recruiting is a relationship business, and I think that's really helped us out.
Obviously, you've been in a lot of homes in the last few weeks. Just wondering what maybe the most interesting moments, maybe behind the scenes, if you can take us on some of those visits were.
Out in terms of interesting. Mind is so mushy right now. Through all the takeoffs and landings. I'm gonna let you down. I don't have a great story. I'll probably think of one when I walk out, but I don't have something just ready made, for you. Yes.
Thank you, Manny. The bowl game and your players now. What's their mindset like? Can you tell? I know it's been very difficult this season. After the last couple of games, how are they responding? Have they talked about it?
All I can look at is how we practice, I mean, and we've talked about this being a bridge to 2020, and it's rather obvious. We didn't have very many seniors on the football team, right? That's why we were trying to hunt the portal a year ago. So I look at this as an opportunity for the guys that are returners in 2020 to try to step up their leadership role in these practices and start to imagine themselves as if they are the seniors. And we're starting to see that, and we got to go play. There's nothing I can say right now that makes a difference one way or the other. We got to go out there and we got to play and we got to compete next Thursday. But in terms of our attitude and the way we work, which again, we have ways that we can quantify other than me just saying, well, it seems like we're playing well. The guys have been working. They're working hard.
We'll do 2 more questions.
Clearly, you said that you're not scared to start a true freshman, perhaps. And when you look at Tyler, does that just spark maybe a fire under the returning guys, the guys you have now, to say, we got to work harder or be better, or, we could lose our job to a freshman?
You would hope so. The quick story I'm going to say is this, okay? The comp, if I was going to use a comp to this, is Shaq Quarterman and his class. Okay, if you think about when those guys were recruited, okay, that class was recruited in the fall of 2015. Okay, Miami went through a coaching change. Miami was out without a head coach for 6 or 7 weeks that fall. So guys like Shaq had no idea who their head coach was going to be. You can only imagine the negative recruiting that those guys went through. Okay, Mark Richt gets hired in December. Another month goes by before Shaq Quarterman knows who's going to be his linebacker coach and who's going to be his defensive coordinator. Now, that guy could have come in and wanted a guy that's taller, this way, that way, whatever, could be running a different style of defense. There's no telling what it was going to be. But those guys were hurricanes, and they didn't care because they were coming to play for the U. Playing for the U meant something to those guys. Now, that would be a good tale to tell about hooray for signing day. That's not even my point because I really don't care about that. My point is what happens next in the story. Because to your exact question, what happened next was these freshmen came in back in the spring of 2016, and we said, we're going to have an open competition. And the older guys, maybe they thought it was coach talk, maybe they didn't. And the 4th day of spring practice, Shaq Quarterman became the starter at Miami, and he's about to start his 52nd straight game, right? So what I see is this. I see a mentality in recruiting. Before I even knew who Shaq was, there had to be something about this guy Because you can only imagine all the negativity in the fall of 2015, right? That he stayed pure and stayed true to being a Miami Hurricane. And that meant something about the way he was when he came on campus. There's one thing that we've seen in the 4 years we've been at Miami. Our best players, without a doubt, have been guys that have had a little something intrinsic to them about what it means to play for Miami. And I could go through every position on our roster of every guy that's come through in the last 4 years. Our highest performers on this campus, it meant something to them to be a Cane. And that's why, again, when I went out, I mean, we finished the season as poorly as you can finish it. And the best medicine was I went out the next 2 weeks, and these 18 guys got to go in their homes, not just me and our staff. You got to look these guys in the eye, and these guys get you fired up. Because, again, I circle back to how I started. You saw a mentality of guys that are ready to get the work and believe in the Miami Hurricanes. So that, to me, has been the most encouraging thing here of this month.
Well, how do I follow that up? But just wanted to know, so you went through your first full recruiting cycle as a head coach just now. What's something that you'll take going forward as a learning experience for you personally going forward? And you mentioned, what it means to be committed, things like that. Is that the main thing, or is there anything else, or can you expand on that?
Part of it, but that's something that really when we get done in February, when the class is done in its totality, I think we'll have a really good chance to quality control and see what we liked, what we didn't like. The best recruiting we need to do is on the field on Saturdays. We got to win more games. We got to play better. For our class, again, we haven't mentioned our recruiting ranking since we've been here. That's not something we really pay a lot of attention to. But to have our class ranked where it's ranked, given our record, in my mind, means we can recruit. Because what that says is if we can, dial up the wins, I think that'll dial up the recruiting class. And I think some of the ones that, we felt like we were close on that we could have added on, you start to wonder, okay, if we could have changed a couple of these things on those Saturdays in the fall, that could have changed what we're talking about today. And that's fine, and that's all part of it. But I'm not gonna shortchange these 18 guys that we got right here because we got something special. So I think that's it. I think we know what we have to do going forward. I think we feel good about the changes that we made. There's a lot of guys that worked really, really hard behind the scenes. I'm the one here talking. A lot of guys worked really, really hard to secure this class, and I'm very thankful to them. And it's not over yet. We got a chance to continue to improve our class. I'm not worried about it. Got a chance to improve the 2020 Hurricanes when we do this again, first Wednesday in February.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you all.